This is an interesting little handheld Sharp pocket computer. It's similar to the PC1248 and that sort of family, 1251, but this one's actually got a membrane keypad, which is interesting. I haven't seen one of these before. But this one doesn't actually work. When you turn it on, all the segments on the LCD light up, and there's a contrast knob here, and that does nothing. So that's quite an interesting failure, because usually it's something to do with the LCD that's leaking or something like that, but these are absolutely perfect pixels, so a bit strange there. So I'm going to have a look and see if there's anything obviously wrong inside, and see whether it's working. It does turn on and off, which is interesting. So there's something going on, there's definitely life there. So I'll have a look inside and see what's going on. Well, I've opened it up and it's a nice neat design. You can take the back off, you've got the batteries here, and there's a beeper here which doesn't seem to be connected to the PCB, so I might wire that up again if I can find out where it goes. I think it's wires, and they're just not there anymore. So you can actually put this together and sandwich it together and get it working without actually having any ribbon cables or anything to mess around with. I've had this PCB out, and the LCD is on zebra strips, so that's quite fixable. First thing I noticed was there's some strange corrosion over here. There's a couple of pads which go through the board. I think they're wires actually, and they've got what looks like battery corrosion on them, but the batteries are over here and there's no sign of corrosion on those, so maybe it's something that came in through the connector sort of opening here. I've checked them, they seem alright, so I don't think there's a problem there. I then noticed over here, now there's some components here, and what it turns out to be is a resistor network. You can get the service manual for this and have a look at the circuit diagram. There's a sort of resistor divider with 4 resistors in it and a couple of capacitors. There's a 56k, a 56k and 2 18k resistors. Now when I took this PCB out, the membrane over the push buttons actually stuck to the PCB. Now it wasn't glued. What had actually happened was someone had soldered 2 wires which had gone through to the other side and melted the plastic onto the PCB. So I knew something had happened here, and if you look here there's a lot of soldering going on. And so I cleaned it up, looked at the circuit on the board, and it looked to me like the voltage divider was open circuit. So I checked in the service manual, and indeed it was. It wasn't actually correct. These 2 18k resistors here and here were missing. So obvious thing to do, put them back in. So I did, and if I turn it over and turn it on, well, it's turned itself on there, you can see that it's actually now working. And the contrast knob here does its job. You can see that the contrast is changing when I turn it. So as far as I can tell, the fault was that those resistors had been taken off and not put back on, which is a bit odd. If you'd gone to the trouble of taking them off, you would have thought you'd put them back on, but maybe someone didn't have them, forgot, put it in a bag, and that was that. Next time they turned it on, it didn't work. So seems to be working. I'll bear this in mind over here in case something stops working, but at the moment it seems to actually be going just by putting those resistors back on. So I don't know, can you call that a repair, or is it a completion of construction? I'm not sure, but it's working now. I think I'll have a look and see if I can put the beeper on. I do tend to find them a bit irritating though sometimes if they're on by default, and I've got to find where it is, but I've got the service manual, so I should be able to find where it is. That's assuming both contacts are there. I can only see one. Oh no, there's the other contact under the insulation tape, so it might be possible to find that. With the service manual I should be able to find it. Well, I've put this back together again, and it's working quite nicely. All the display pixels are there, the memory's there, everything's working as far as I can tell. I did find the beeper connections on the PCB, but when I wired them up to the beeper it didn't work, so I think maybe the piezo buzzer is actually broken. or maybe the drive circuitry or something like that. So I'm not really too bothered about that at the moment. I might have a go at that later on. But yeah, so this is quite a nice unit. It's been used, obviously, but might come in handy. I might see if I can attach it using the 11-pin connector on the side to my PC1248 VS gadget and see whether I can communicate with it. Should be possible using the SSIO protocol. I think you can sort of treat the gadget as a printer, and maybe might be able to get the cassette interface protocol working as well. So there are a couple of things that I'm looking at the moment. But yeah, sort of that's repaired, but it's not really a repair, I suppose, is it? But it's working again anyway, so that's quite nice. The keyboard actually is better than I was expecting. It's quite responsive. You do have to press fairly hard, but not that hard. It's actually, it is quite nice to use. I don't think it's quite as nice as the mechanical buttons on some of the other sharp pocket computers, but it is quite nice. Clear took a bit of a press there to actually operate, but I suppose that's a good thing, really. Yeah, quite like that, really. It's a very small form factor and quite nice to use. Got the battery cover there as well. The whole thing is here, and it's quite a nice little thing. It doesn't actually, I don't think it looks as nice as the ones with the real keys, because they've got metal sort of surrounds on the case and so on, but in terms of actually using it, it's actually very usable.